Hello everyone. Welcome to the Digital Marketing Gyan, the podcast where we keep on sharing some of the informative tools, techniques, case studies, and latest updates in the digital marketing domain. I'm your host Prince Kumar, and today we have Hannah Acosta with us, and she will be sharing social media strategy that is guaranteed to deliver results. Hannah is the passionate and purposeful leader of the social media department at Ugly Mug Marketing. Over the past 4 years, Hannah has worked Hannah has grown her department by over 340% and has worked alongside hundreds of millions of small business owners and entrepreneurs as they navigate the ever-changing digital marketing scale. Hi Hannah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Prince. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Great, great. So Evan, I had a chance to interact with Vane, the CEO of Aglibag Marketing, and he was mentioning that he is having an amazing team, that keeps their clients up to date with all the latest updates. And we are lucky that one of his team member is today with us.
Yes. excited to be here. Wayne is a great leader and we're lucky to work for him and work with him.
Can you brief a little about yourself, about your corporate journey, and also the kind of clients that you're currently working on?
Yes. So I started at Ugly Mug Marketing 4 years ago, almost. It'll be 4 years in January. And when I came to Ugly Mug, I had marketing experience. That was what my degree was in. I was working in a nonprofit space, though. So when I came to Ugly Mug, I really had to focus on working with entrepreneurs and small business owners. And so it was a little bit of a shift, right? So going from raising money and working with corporate partners and businesses in that capacity to now helping those very same businesses actually make money, right? So it's been a really fun journey. And I have worked with a variety of different businesses and organizations. I still have the opportunity to work with nonprofit organizations, whether that's fundraising or helping them spread awareness of whatever it is that they do to help their communities. And then I also work with small businesses, so maybe a small mom and pop kind of restaurant that's, they only have one location, standalone store. I've worked with people in the e-commerce space like boutiques, and then I've also worked with a heating and cooling company that is a multi-million dollar heating and cooling company that has probably 60 plus locations across the South in the United States. And it's been a really fun journey to learn about all of these different industries and really use my skills and knowledge of social media to help them grow and scale their business, whether it is the HVAC company or a boutique, or I mean, heck, I've even worked with a surgical specialist center. you know it's something new and different every single day, but it's been a really fun journey.
Great. That means you have worked with a variety of clients, and I think so that is one of the reason why you have a lot of experience into having the best content strategy or the best digital strategy.
Yes, exactly. Be having the opportunity to work with different kinds of people. There are things that I've learned and gleaned about different kinds of audiences, and there's some overlap, with each one of these different industries. There are times where we're targeting the exact same type of people, so figuring out which messaging works and best times to run our ads and best times to post, which I know is something that people are always asking about when it comes to social media. When should I be posting? And there are some tricks to figuring that out, but yeah, it's been fun, and I've very much enjoyed learning about all of these different industries too, because I certainly didn't know anything about surgical specialty, surgical specialist office, or anything about the HVAC industry. But now I've had the opportunity to learn pretty in depth about both of those.
Now coming to the clients that you are working upon, definitely like when the first step that generally comes is the sales team have given the lead or the sales team have updated you about that this is the client that is onboarded to us. Now, what is the first step that you generally take in terms of once the client has been onboarded?
Yeah, so one of the first things that we do with our clients once they've been handed off from the sales team is making sure that they own their Facebook page. So a lot of people come to us after they've worked with another agency or they have had a bad experience and they're coming to us on maybe a little bit of a whim or they've heard good things about us. The first thing we do, we're like, hey, before we can start running any of your campaigns or anything, we want to make sure you have ownership of your page. We want to make sure your team, our admins on here, we want to make sure you have a business manager or your own business suite account. Because what happens is businesses don't have their own page. And so they hire an agency and that agency creates the page. Well, then now what's happened? That agency owns your page. So you don't have like technically any rights to that, right? And especially if you weren't ever added as an admin and they were just handling everything, we don't have access to that. And in a lot of cases, they've grown your following. You've worked with them for maybe 6 months or a year or heck, even more. And so it's really important for us to be able to claim ownership of that page, and sometimes that comes with more steps. We've had instances where people are really friendly still with the companies or people that they've worked with in the past, and we're easily able to transfer that over to a new business manager account that has everyone from our client's team on it. But there have been some instances, and there is a way for you to go through Facebook support. And there's some documentation that is required. You do have to provide a notarized statement, and it does have to come from someone who has a lot of knowledge of the situation and works for the company or your client. There are ways to claim ownership of the page, but that's ultimately first and foremost our first step, because we know a client isn't going to work with us forever, right? We hope they do. We hope that they stay with us for a long time, but I know that maybe someone can only afford to work with us for a year or for even 6 months. And I want them to be able to have the resources and the tools that we've created so that they can carry on those campaigns and continue to have success with their social media strategy. So enabling them to do that by adding them to the business manager, showing them how to get there, showing them how to access their ad account. Those are all things that are really important and allow us to add value, right? They're learning something. We're teaching them how to do this instead of just saying, oh, hey, we got it. And then when you go somewhere else, we're not going to give you access to any of it, right? I feel like that's not good business practice. Yes, yes, it does. And so we want to make sure we're helping teach people, helping coach them along the way. If they want to be. I mean, we certainly have clients that are like, thanks for doing this, but I don't have time to learn this. But if they do want to learn, we want to extend that opportunity for them. And again, if they leave and they don't have the resources to continue working with us or go to another agency, we still want them to have those tools, those custom audiences, access to their pixel, all of those important aspects of Facebook marketing. We want to make sure that they still have access to those.
So definitely the thing that you have highlighted out here is it's not just working with the client, but it's also educating them. What is the best thing, that what is the strategy that you should be working upon, or how you should be managing the page assets. Because many a times when we see or when we work with client, it's like that when we ask for the admin access, or let's say these all things, they will just think that let me check with my the previous organization or the previous agency that was working. They don't have generally that right. They can remove the old agency and then they can assign new agency. So this is definitely an important point. Yeah.
Yeah, or they don't know how to do that, right? Maybe they and then we're sending screenshots and videos. Okay, first go here and then go here. And then, there's always like beta testing of different interfaces of Facebook. So they're like, "Well, my screen doesn't look like that." So then it's a whole other challenge, but we get there.
So now coming to the main topic, that is creating a successful social media strategy. So definitely it's one of the most important thing why any client come to us and they expect a good result from us. So how do you plan complete social media strategy for your clients?
Yeah, I think in order for us to be able to create a successful social media strategy, we need to know what the client's goals are. Are you trying to make more money, which ultimately is always the goal, right? They want to, and making more money looks a lot of different ways. That could be getting people into your restaurant, getting more visitors onto your website, people who are actually adding to cart and completing that purchase, or it could be generating leads through a lead generation campaign and then we pass that off to their team. I think clearly defining results and clearly defining what success is going to look like. Oftentimes, clients sign a 3 or 6 month contract with us as an initial starting point. And what I like to do with the client is say, all right, let's pretend it's the end of that 6 months and we're looking back at everything that's happened, everything that we've accomplished over this time together. What would need to be true in order for you to continue working with me or to continue working with Ugly Mug Marketing or someone on our team? What would absolutely need to be true? And we build our strategy based on that conversation. So if the goal is ultimately to generate more leads, then all right, I need to focus on lead generation campaign and establishing trust with the customer, especially if we're entering into a new market or there's somebody who is just new to the entrepreneurship or small business game. I want to make sure that we first establish trust. We have this, I guess, little circle that we talked about. We have to get customers to know who we are, then we have to get them to like us, and then we have to get them to trust us. And in that process, they're also moving from a stranger to our friend to a customer and then to an evangelist. An evangelist is someone who is ranting and raving about our company. They're going on and telling their friends and family, hey, you need to go and shop here, or check out this website that I just found, or you have to go and eat at this restaurant, because those are the people ultimately that we're looking for, right? Part of my strategy is helping you define who an evangelist is for your business and how can we work to get in front of those people, because those are going to be the people that help the strategy become even more successful, right? The strategy is the big picture, right? What are we trying to accomplish, and then what tools or what tactics are we going to use to help us get there? So a part of the strategy is figuring out what is our problem, what do we need, what is the desired outcome, what tools are we going to use to get there, actually implementing it, but then monitoring it, which is the part that people oftentimes forget in their strategy. They set up a campaign and they forget about it, and then they come back a month later and they're like, all right, I spent $500 on Facebook. Well, it didn't do anything. You have to constantly be like refreshing ads manager obsessively and determining, all right, is this working? Do I need to try something else? How can I pivot my strategy in order, or my campaigns, in order to be more successful? Or hey, this version of this ad is working and this one isn't, so we need to shut that one off and reallocate our money towards the campaign that's working. I mean, there's so many different moving parts of a strategy, but really defining what's the outcome and who are those people that we want to get to know us, like us, trust us, and ultimately turn into that evangelist. So those are some of the key components that we use we're when we're discussing that, because clients come to us and they've never had anyone ask them these questions before. And so our goal is to get them to think about these things. Who is that ideal person that's going to come to your business over and over and over again? Oftentimes they haven't even considered these things. So we like to really force them to think through that.
Great, great. So, once you had an initial discussion with your clients, you have now set an expectation, or you have understood that what will be their expectation from our campaign. Now, coming to the different the ROI factors that you have generally come across, like definitely lead is one part. What are the other different ROI factors that client generally look for, or we as a social media or a digital marketing agency can refer, or we can educate to our clients?
Yes. So results depend on what their goal is. So that's really important for us to determine. And that's why we have that conversation first, because I don't want to run campaigns for a month and I think they're successful, but the client doesn't perceive it that way. So success for our clients has looked like how many clicks are we getting and people actually navigating to the website. Some clients really care about that. Some clients take it a step further and have even more understanding. They want to have a positive return on ad spend, and that's been specifically for people who are in the e-commerce space. So they want to see, all right, I've invested $500 on this one carousel campaign and trying to get people to come to my website and purchase my product. And okay, I've spent $500, but I've only made 300. So maybe this campaign isn't working. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see a negative return on ad spend. They want to see a positive return on ad spend. So that's been one metric that we've seen. Another metric is click to call. So when you're setting up a lead generation campaign, you can select, all right, I want to start a conversation in Messenger and collect their information. I want them to fill out a lead generation form, or I want them to click on the call now button and actually dial out to my company. And we measure this on Facebook, how many people click to call, but we also create a call tracking number for our clients. So we can see, all right, how many people actually completed a call, and then we have it record as well, because then I'm able to say, all right, I went back and listened to the recordings and I heard someone make a reservation to actually come to your restaurant, or they actually scheduled an appointment with your customer service rep, or they actually scheduled an appointment for the doctor's office. Whatever it may be, we can go back and listen to those recordings and determine, all right, how many people called and how many people actually converted. The next one that has been major for us is lead generation. And that's the one that I am most passionate about. I think that that is the one that gives you the most instant gratification when you go into ads manager and you're looking at all of your campaigns. Being able to see how many leads did we generate, how much information were we able to collect, and then what was the cost per lead. That's another thing we have to consider in all of these. If my client is someone who is a has a very low margin business, then I don't want to be paying $10 for, a lead. That might be something that's not going to be make them be profitable. They're going to have a negative return on ad spend. But for my heating and cooling company, if someone's purchasing a new system for their home, heck, that could be anywhere from six to $13,000. And so paying $10 for a lead isn't that bad, because I know that the conversion rate is usually anywhere from 50 to 60%. So we can afford to pay $10 per lead. We can probably afford to pay a little bit more than that per lead. So those are some of the key metrics: website traffic, conversion, uh, actual click to calls, and being able to track and measure, all right, how many people actually completed that phone call, how many of those people converted into a customer or an appointment. And then the same thing with lead generation: how many leads did we generate, what was the cost per lead, and how many of these people actually converted into a customer.
While you were mentioning about the click to call, like even for few of our clients for which we generally work for, even when we go for lead generation, what we look for is the client should give us a feedback form. We generate leads, we give it to the client, but then we are not aware that what is happening after that. Many a times the brands, they just kind of shoot an email and that goes on. So having that communication also help us understand that is our communication or is our paid campaign into the say kind of in the correct step, or it's kind of going to the reaching to the some other audience. That also it helps us measure. Now, once we have selected the ROI factors, the next step that comes is creating content calendar. Whether it might be a kind of monthly content calendar, a quarterly, or even it can be a 6 month broad content calendar strategy. So, how do you create a content calendar that aligns with the objectives that client have communicated to us?
So we like to let the client know when we're going to post. So we determine with them, hey, if you're someone who y'all like to post every single day already, but we're just kind of a backup, like, hey, if I don't get to post today, I know Ugly Mug is going to have something that's going out on these days. So we like to be very clear in communicating when the posts are going to be out. So I will put together everything typically in a Google Doc. It's not anything fancy, but it's an easy, user friendly way for the client to go in there, add their feedback, add notes before we actually go and schedule and publish everything. We've used a couple of different other tools, but ultimately the most user friendly way to do this has been in a Google Doc, or we'll use Basecamp in order to manage all communications with our clients, and just simply putting everything in a Basecamp message and allowing the client to just respond to that and give us any sort of feedback. But we have a client, Glasston, etc. We've worked with them for a couple of years. They help you deck out your car, tint your windows, add new wheels, tires, lift kits, all of that fun stuff to your vehicle. And with them, we've determined, hey, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, there's going to be a post from Ugly Mug. And depending on what products or services we're focusing on that month, we'll say every Monday, we're going to post about this. Every Wednesday, we're going to post about financing opportunities. Every Friday, we're going to post about recent work that has come into the shop and highlighting some of the different projects that you've been working on. We like to clearly define that. And especially with Glasston, et cetera, they have been in business for a really long time. And so we force them to kind of go back and look at the data and say, all right, are there certain months where specific products or services or more are more popular than others? And we've put together a quarterly calendar. And every year at the end of the year, we'll go through that quarterly calendar and revise it. Hey, this didn't work. That didn't work. Or let's add this product or service to hit next year. We think we really missed the mark with that. So we'll very generally bullet point, all right, in February or in January, February, and March, here are the topics that we're going to cover. Here are the events that are happening in our community that we're going to be sponsoring. And so we need to make sure that we're promoting those as well. And then I take that information and plug it into my one Monday, Wednesday, Friday routine for them. And they know exactly what's coming, because some clients, we define what those results are, right? So we say, all right, we're going to generate these leads, but they also really care about being active on their Facebook page. They really care about that organic content as well, and staying relevant with their community, staying relevant with their target audience and the people who like their page. So we want to make sure we're also hitting on that too. It's not just about the paid campaigns, it's also about the organic content, and developing that quarterly and monthly overview with Glasston, et cetera, and then clearly defining what days we're going to post has really helped us. And it helps manage expectations of what the client can expect to see. So if they don't see something on Tuesday, or if we simply tell them, oh, we're going to post 3 times a week for you, but they don't know when those 3 days are, and it's Wednesday, and they're like, oh, I haven't seen a post yet, but you're planning on posting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it doesn't make things very clear for them. So we like to just make sure we're all on the same page. We have this quarterly overview. You know what days I'm going to post. I've met with you this month and I've told you, all right, what Mondays are going to be, what Wednesdays are going to be, and what Fridays are going to be. And we've plugged in that content. And that's also a time for me to gather that information from them. So if there are recent work pictures or photos of cars that they've been working on, it's important for me to meet with them monthly and say, hey, can you guys quick just shoot me a text message with those photos so that I can share that on your social media account? Because the thing about being in marketing and working with these small businesses and entrepreneurs is we're not in the office with them, right? We're not sitting, I'm not sitting at Glasston, et cetera, in their shop just waiting to take a picture. I need them to send some of that over to me. So clearly defining and saying, hey, this month I'm going to get pictures that you've taken from last month, and that's what we're going to share. And then next month we're going to do the same exact thing. And every client functions differently. So that's how we've ultimately decided to operate with Glasston, et cetera. But I have other clients where they're like, I'm just going to text you a bunch of pictures and you post and do whatever you want with them. Because some clients, like, they don't check their email, they're not going to get on Basecamp, or they're not going to get on Asana, or whatever, management system we've decided to use for them. They'd rather just send a text. And so for some people, I'm like, hey, I'm flexible, I know you're busy, if that's how you want to communicate with me, that's fine.
So, while you were mentioning about creating this complete content calendar, you generally keep it a common for all the platforms, or does it vary when we are posting on LinkedIn? The communication will be something that is bit professional. When we generally go on Instagram, Instagram is the platform, where people like some funky content, these all things. So, do you bifurcate based on social platforms also, or it's a kind of common that you generally?
It's usually pretty general. So the majority of our clients are mostly on Facebook and Instagram. Or they're solely on Facebook, or they're solely on Instagram. But for the clients that we have that are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, we do try to tweak the content a little bit. And where we might get a little more playful with the content is in Instagram stories. And people get really stressed out about Instagram stories sometimes. They don't want to put their face on stories, or they don't know what to post. But what I tell them is that's your opportunity to contribute to the strategy, right? To add a little bit of a cherry on top of everything that we're doing. Because again, I can't go on your Instagram stories. I'm not the brand. I'm helping plan all of this content that is going to be tailored more for Facebook, and then making the images or the video or the copy a little more professional for LinkedIn. But where they come into play with the spice is going on Instagram stories and showing their face, documenting those behind the scenes moments. And I try to tell them, don't think of it as creating content. Think about it as documenting your day. That takes a lot of the pressure off. People like to see the behind the scenes. They like to see what you're doing every day. It might not seem interesting to you, but to the outside customer or prospect, it's wildly fascinating. Especially at Glasston, etc., tinting windows, people, you might think that's boring because you do it every day, but for somebody who's a customer, they don't know that there's this machine that actually cuts the window tint custom for your window. They don't know the process of spraying, the machine cuts it, and then you have to peel it out, and then you have to cling it to the glass and spray a bunch of water, and then they take this little, like, kind of squeegee and squeeze the water and get it to stick, and then you've got to spray it again. That's an interesting thing. We don't know that. The average Joe doesn't know that. So I always really encourage them, hey, document whatever little behind the scenes that you can, because those are the fun things that we get to add to Instagram and to Facebook that we don't have the opportunity to add to LinkedIn or even to Twitter in those capacities. So to answer your question, yes, we do tailor the graphics. We do change the language a little bit, because we know, especially, we have to think about what audiences and what people are hanging out on each of these platforms, right? And so we want to make sure that our messaging is something that's going to resonate with them and going to leave a good professional impression on them, or a fun, hey, we're humans too, right? And we like to have fun in our business. We want to portray that more so on Instagram and Facebook.
No, definitely, definitely. This is the one of the important points that you have highlighted. That generally, brand what they do is they want themselves to be perceived as kind of very something that is serious. But as a user, they want to understand who are behind the scene. No, they generally, because that is what they can connect with, or that they can understand what they actually stands for, rather than if we just go on promoting our products, that will somewhere decrease the complete engagement. Rather, if we post behind the scenes, or in success stories, or introducing the members of that company or that organization, that definitely that helps in improving the overall engagement that you rightly said.
Yes. And that's such a great point. Like, showing off your team members, like, that is one of the most successful campaigns that we run for people when we first start working with them. We tell them, hey, I know you might be a little embarrassed, or you might not want to share so much at first, but we always encourage them to start with a meet the team campaign. Because when we run those campaigns and we say, hey, meet so and so, the owner of our company, you'll catch her at the soccer field hanging out with her kids in her free time, or you might see her cooking at our restaurant or bussing tables. It adds this human element to the brand, right? And then all of a sudden, all of these people who know that person and know that team member or that business owner, they're going to be commenting on it and they're going to be saying, oh my gosh, I know Jenny, she's so great. Like her kids play soccer with my kids, or oh, Jenny's the best boss ever, or she makes the best food. And then that does what? It adds social proof, it adds credibility. And those people who are commenting on that post, they have friends who are going to see that and be like, oh, I've never eaten at Jenny's restaurant before. You know, Jenny, that's awesome. I'm going to go and eat there. All of a sudden, it adds this credibility. And I'm like, guys, don't discredit showing off yourself as the business owner or showing off the people who work on your team. Turn them into little celebrities, right? And allow the social proof that gets built up in the comments to help you expand and grow your business. It's honestly one of the most successful campaigns we've seen ever in the history of ugly mug marketing.
So yeah, you have helped us to understand this process also. Now coming to the key ROI that we have planned for our clients, that after 6 months we'll be achieving this result, or after a year we will be trying to achieve this result. Definitely, having a 6 month or a year is a very long time. Definitely, there will be some or the other short term results or the signals that can help us understand that we are on the right track, providing the results that client is looking for. Or else, if somewhere if we are going on the wrong track, we can improve ourselves and then track back and then go to the right track. So are there any short term results or signals that you think that can help us understand or help us keep a check on, so that we can always be on the right track for receiving results?
Yes, especially when someone has a shorter term contract with us. Like you said, we're striving for that big picture goal, but all the while we're monitoring those campaigns that are running. So if something isn't reaching enough people to even generate a lead, I know Facebook isn't serving that ad enough in order for me to be able to get in front of the people I'm trying to get in front of. So I have to try and figure out, why is Facebook not serving that ad? And they have these really helpful columns in Ads Manager that have to do with, is your ad average? Is it above average as far as quality of your content? Or are people in, it's an engagement ranking, so are people actually engaging with your content? If those things say below average across the board, I'm like, ooh, if that says below average, if that's how Facebook is ranking it, they're probably not serving my ad to enough people. So I need to shut that campaign off and try and figure out, how can I make my engagement ranking score or my quality ranking score better. And those are some early on key indicators. Once your campaign reaches, I believe, 1,000 people, those metrics, it'll actually tell you below average, average, or above average. So initially, reaching those first 1,000 people, I'll look at that and say, all right, are we below average? We need to go back to the drawing board and we need to change. Maybe it's not the copy. It could be as simple as just, hey, our target audience would prefer a video over a still image, or they don't like the video, or the video is too long. So making those simple changes. And that's why split testing is super important too. And it's very good to do that early on in the relationship. Do they prefer this headline over that headline? Those are very good, clear ways that we can see what's going to work better long term. And I've run a split test for as short as a week. I've said, all right, we're gonna put $50 behind this, and we're gonna split test. All right, it's got the same exact copy, but we're gonna put a different image with it. Which one's gonna work better? And then I'm going to go and add more money behind that winning one and let that be the campaign that runs for the entire month or for the entire quarter. I think Facebook makes it so easy to split test. And oftentimes people don't want to, because they think that you have to split test for 6 months before you can determine what works best. No, It doesn't have to be that long. You just have to be wise with your resources. So maybe split test for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then go back and add in the majority of your, or the remaining of your budget on what's actually working. I think looking at that and saying, all right, which image are people liking and commenting more? Which lead generation campaign are we getting more leads on because we're split testing two different versions of it? Running those split tests are ultimately what's going to help you figure out quickly what works and what doesn't work. What's going to get you a high quality ranking score? What's going to get you a high engagement ranking score, and what's not? So, looking at those overall metrics, but in a shorter period of time with a little bit of a little a little bit of a test budget, I guess. Those are going to be ways that you can figure out what works early on and what doesn't work. Um, I think for our clients too, they're used to hearing metrics like, oh, well, we reached this amount of people, or we had this amount of impressions, or this amount of engagements, or this many video views. But ultimately, if we're not converting those people quickly, or those aren't even the right people that we want to get in front of, those numbers don't even matter. So I always tell people, I if even if your ad only reached 1,000 people, but we generated 10 leads at $10 per lead in just 2 weeks, we know that that is what's working, right? So I guess to answer your question more clearly, running running split tests early on for shorter periods of time and just changing one thing out, so testing two different versions of copy with the same image, testing the same copy but with a different image, those are going to be things that help you figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Definitely, definitely. So these are, very informative tools that you have mentioned that you can go with that. Now coming to one other part, like when we are into the journey of creating the social media and reaching to the target that we have planned for. One other important point is having a better competitor analysis because that help us understand where we stand compared to our competitors. Because even when we mention about the ROI or the end result that the client is expecting, one part that they generally also look out is that these are my competitors. I want to be better than them. So definitely having a computer analysis is one of the important part that generally plays. So can you recommend any tools that you generally prefer in order to have this computer analysis? And also if you are looking into that, then what are the different parameters that you check that, where my computers are standing strong and how can that can be, improved or that can be incorporated into our plan?
Yes, that is a great question because a lot of our clients, they are small businesses or they are in the restaurant industry. The restaurant industry is so competitive, and especially if you're a pizza place or, something that's maybe a little more generic and you're trying to stand out against all of the other pizza places, it's important to understand, why are other people wanting to go to the other pizza place over my store or over my restaurant. So we've done a couple of different things. We do the spying for our customers or for our clients in order to help them figure out what are their competitors doing. And one tool that exists that I found a lot of our clients don't even know exists is Facebook Ads Library. They don't know that you can go to Facebook Ads Library and go and search any business, any organization, any politician, nonprofit, as long as they're advertising on Facebook or Instagram, you can go and search for them in Facebook Ads Library and you can see what ads they're running right now. And and sometimes if they've been running that ad for several months, it'll even tell you this ad started on, April of 2021. So if they've been running that ad since April 2021, that has been producing revenue for their business. They're not running that ad just because, they're running it because it's been successful. So we study those campaigns. All right, your competitors in the market, here are the ads that they're running. Here are the ones that they've been running for a certain period of time. What is it about this ad that they're running that's hooking people? Is it the offer? Is it the copy? Is it the type of image that they're using? We collect all of that data, take all of the screenshots, and put it together in a document for our clients. And we say, all right, based on what we're seeing in the market, here are the offers that we think we should create for you so that we can create a replacement. It's easy to say, all right, we're going to be better than the competitor, but we want something that's different. We don't want to fight with them and create the same exact offer and try and get people to move over to us. We want to create a replacement for that. So if our competitor's saying, hey, I'm making this up, but 50% off this, 50% off pizza. Well, what's a different offer that instead of 50% off pizza that we can create as a replacement for that? Something that, yes, is going to be better than 50% off pizza, but how can we create a new and different offer to enter into the market and ultimately take them away from our competitors? So, studying what our competitors are doing in the market is really important. But it's not just about how they're advertising. It's about the experience in a restaurant too, to keep going on with my pizza example. It's about, all right, well, what kind of ingredients do they use versus what we use? Is there something that we can play on with that too? But we also want to study the experience. So we will literally call our clients' competitors and see how they answer the phone. What does the process look like of placing an order at this pizza place? We'll go and dine in at their competitor's pizza place or other restaurants that they're competing with and say, all right, is the staff friendly? Do they have a certain process or system? Did the food come out quickly or and hot and fresh? What were we greeted at the door? We're studying all of those different steps as much as we can for our clients. If they have an online ordering system, is our competitors online ordering system easier and more user friendly than the ordering system that our client has? And we'll include all of this information because we know we can market but have a terrible product. Right? And ultimately, if someone has a bad experience, they're not going to keep coming back. So we want to make sure that we're giving them as much data and information about their competitors and the experience of going to a competitor versus them. So then we also do some secret shopper calling to our customer. We'll call their pizza place and say, oh, hey, this is so and so. I'd like to place an order. And we'll study them too, because it's not just about studying the competitor. It's also about studying our client too. And what are the processes and systems that they currently have in place? Or what is their customer service like? And how can we give them feedback to, again, be better than their competitors? And we include that all in that competitor analysis, but also add on a little customer analysis too, because we want to tell them how we think they're performing and where they have room for improvement as well.
Very rightly said. Because while we generally look for it while doing the competency, we generally stick to the online parts only. But what you have mentioned was, something informative and something even all businesses or all the digital marketing agencies should do, that they should try to understand the business from the offline point of view also. Like what is the experience that they are providing, how their employees are behaving, or how their customer support is reacting. So these all even play an important role, put the communication into the right funnel that we are looking for. You have highlighted this very beautifully. Since you had mentioned that you have worked with a good amount of clients, so and you have highlighted the complete strategy that we should be working upon. Can you also share any successful social media case study? It can start with the challenges the client that they were facing upon, the campaign that you worked upon, and then the end results that they achieved.
Yeah, great question. So my heating and cooling company that I work with, they're called Southern Air. They came to us 2 years ago, and they ultimately said, "We don't think Facebook works, but we're going to give you a month to prove us wrong." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, a month! A month to generate leads that will prove to you that Facebook is a viable place for marketing and that you're actually going to get a return on your investment." I was so stressed out. So it was a challenge for me too, because they put a very, very tight time frame on it. But ultimately, what they wanted was for us to show them that Facebook can be a place where you can generate qualified leads. They had not yet worked with an agency who was able to give them customer information and say, hey, here is a lead. Here's their name, here's their phone number, here's their email address, here's where they live. They had never received that from another agency. They had never actually been able to say, hey, this customer came because they saw our ad on Facebook and they actually scheduled an appointment and we actually followed through and we actually made money. They had never been able to connect all of those dots. That was the challenge. And the other challenge was showing them that I'm not just going to send you all of these leads. They're going to be qualified leads, people who actually need your service and people who actually have the money to be able to afford your product or service too. So we started out with a very low entry level offer, something that they had been offering for years. And it's a $69 tune up. So they'll send out one of their heating and cooling technicians to your home. And for $69, they'll clean your coils, they'll, remove any leaves or any debris that had been in your system, add Freon, and do all of these other steps to making sure that your system is working properly. And this proved to be a very nice entry level offer because it's something that people don't think of. They don't think that they need to get their system a tune up. They're just like, oh, it's running and it's working properly. So we created a good call to action. We started with, hey, attention greater New Orleans area homeowners. So we're calling attention to the very specific audience. We don't want people who are renting their homes. We specifically want homeowners, and we specifically want homeowners who live in this general area. And then we say, hey, you can get our 30-point tune-up inspection for your system that's valued at $150 for just $69. So immediately we're showing them, all right, you're going to get all of this for just $69. And normally it's $178. And so we're increasing the perceived value, right? Because they think this is normally worth, which it is, normally worth $150, but we're going to give it to you for this discounted rate. And then we go on and we list every single step that the technician is going to complete. We essentially copy and pasted his checklist or her checklist onto the ad. And we said, here's everything that they're going to do while they're at your house. Instead of just saying, oh, here's this tune up, we're listing out in detail, every single little thing. That again increases the perceived value of the offer, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get all of this, all 30 steps. Oh, that's awesome. And so then at the bottom, it's a simple call to action. It says, hey, fill out our form and someone from our team is going to follow up with you. So we found that this campaign was what worked the best. But ultimately, we had to make a couple tweaks along the way. The first graphic that we created was terrible. My graphic design skills have come a long way since that first campaign that we ran. And what we've landed on is actually like a moving GIF. So we create it all in Canva, and the $69 kind of flashes up on the screen. It's something that makes people stop scrolling and actually pay attention to what our customer is saying or what our client is saying. We have not changed the copy really at all in the last 2 years, and it has still provided a positive return on investment. In fact, it's grown. We have seen our most recent numbers. They spent anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 in ad spend, and they had like $150,000 in revenue 1 month. And so that's a massive return, right? That's like a 10-time return on ad spend. And we're able to prove that because we're actually collecting these names. So then they can look at that list of names and go in their CRM and match those names up with actual customers and then pull a report of how much money did that customer spend. And then the wonderful thing is we still have all of those names in a spreadsheet. And so we can go back a year later and say, all right, that customer bought a system for $6,000. But then every single year and every single season, they've come back and they've also scheduled a tune up. So we're increasing the lifetime value of that customer too, right? It wasn't just that one time purchase, it wasn't just that $69 tune up. They actually came back and they purchased a full system, or they actually hired us to come back and do another $69 tune up. So that's what we're able to provide for our clients. And we use a lot of automation for this client in order to be able to prove that we are providing them qualified leads. So the second somebody fills out that lead form, they get dumped into their CRM. And then their customer service representative follows up with them because they get a notification. We also have an email that goes to their team and says, hey, make sure you guys follow up with this lead. Here's the information. And then we also have it dump into a spreadsheet so that we own that information. I always tell people, you don't own your page likes. You don't own everyone who engaged with your content. You don't have any of their contact information. So running a lead generation campaigns allows you to have them willingly give you their phone number, their email address, their zip code, their name, and then you can take that information and add it into your database so that if Facebook were to go away tomorrow, if your Facebook page were to be deleted or your Instagram page were to be deleted tomorrow, you would still be able to connect with those people, right? And that's so valuable to be able to have them on your email list, or to be able to call them and follow up with them, or to be able to have them in your CRM system so you can help them schedule their next appointment. Even if your Facebook page goes away, being able to collect their information and to hold it and keep it in a safe place is super duper important. And we've helped our client be able to collect that information and be able to add that to their email strategy so that we can see, all right, well, now we're sending an email campaign to people who specifically came from Facebook, and those people are still buying via now this new avenue, a new way for us to connect with them. So that's probably my best case study of, hey, they came to us with a problem of not thinking Facebook worked, not ever being able to generate and make money on Facebook or generate leads, us testing like crazy for a month of, hey, all right, this image doesn't work. They don't like video. All right, we need to list out every single thing specifically. How do we need to rework the copy, to running this campaign for 2 years. Obviously, we refreshed the graphic so that Facebook, doesn't completely kick us off the platform and say, all right, you can't just run the same campaign for 2 years, Hannah. You gotta you gotta change something up. We do freshen it up in that way, but ultimately it's the same offer and it still works today and has provided up to a 10-time return on investment in just a month. That's just 1 month. So yeah, that's my best case study.
Amazing case study that you have shared. Definitely, this will inspire the digital marketers to select the goals and the things, the complete things that you have highlighted into this podcast. So you have already given a lot of advices and lot of important tips for our digital marketers. Any last piece of advice that you would like to share with them?
Yeah, I think for people who are just getting started with social media, or they feel like they're not good at it, or it stresses them out, it feels like a pain point, but they don't have the money to be able to hire an agency. Hey, I have consulted with people a lot who are in that boat. And the most important piece of advice that I can give is to be consistent. Don't stress yourself out and say, all right, I have to post 3 times a day at these specific times. Hey, if that's not realistic for you, find out what is and then be consistent with it. Show the people who like your page, who follow you on your social media channels, show up for them consistently. They will learn, hey, every single day at noon, Hannah's going to go live on Instagram, or every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, they're going to go live on Facebook. However, it's real, whatever schedule you can put together. It might just be right now, I can only post once a week, but then I'm going to get better at it. And so I'm going to post 3 times a week, or then I'm going to move on and post to twice a day, 3 times a week. Figure out what's realistic for you and be consistent and grow from that. You don't have to it immediately becomes stressful when you're like, all right, you need to be posting every single day, and you need to be posting at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and at 9 o'clock at night. That feels really overwhelming for people. So figure out what's realistic for you and be consistent for your followers. And don't be stressed out about content creation. Think about it as documenting. Document behind the scenes. That's what people love to see. And that's how they're ultimately going to connect with you as the business owner, or allow your customer connect with those on your teams. It's going to make you more relatable, right? Make you feel like you're a real person behind the scenes at the boutique, or a real person behind the scenes at the restaurant. And I believe those two pieces of advice are super crucial and important for those of you who, again, don't have the resources to hire an agency, or are just getting started and everything feels overwhelming. Be consistent, and don't think of it as content creation. Think of it as documenting your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have given a lot of valuable advices today, including your last piece of advice that you have given. So, with this, we have come to the end of today's episode. It was pleasure having you, Hannah, and understand many actionable tips, that we can take to improve our overall social media game plan. Thank you so much, and looking forward to host you again on our show.
Thank you so much, Prince. This was super fun. And I hope those of you who are listening have some good takeaways from today. And if you want to connect with us at Ugly Mug Marketing, you can visit our website at uglymugmarketing.com. Come check us out. Follow us on social media. If you have a quick question about something, feel free to shoot us a message, and we'd be happy to help you.